All right. Welcome to Nicole and Phil with Purpose. I am super excited to be here today. Excited to be here with you, Nicole.
Very excited, yes.
And just want to introduce to you what our podcast is all about. We believe that there's people out there that are struggling in life, and we believe that there's reasons that have to do with mental health. And there's reasons that are a combination of mental health and living with a direction. And then there's, just people. Some people need help with a direction, having a certain direction in life. We want to make sure that we are very clear that there are people that actually need help with a counselor, with a therapist, with their doctor. But we also want to be very clear that there may be a combination of something like what Nicole and Phil with Purpose are going to do. And we want to help you have some hope and direction in life. So just a quick, brief introduction. That's what we're going to do. Nicole is here, and she'll have some words to share here too, I'm sure.
Yeah, let me just piggyback off what Phil said. Most of the challenges that we all have in life have multiple factors that play into why we're struggling, why we have a sense of hopelessness, why we just maybe feel off, and why we may seem directionless. And Nicole and Phil with Purpose is about kind of digging into all the different layers of that. And again, recognizing, you'll learn soon, I am a psychologist by training and work with children, families, teens who have legitimate, biologically based needs for mental health intervention and care. But that's typically not the only factor at play. And so Nicole and Phil with Purpose is about digging into some of those other factors that help us to provide direction in our lives, to help us feel rooted, to help us feel grounded. And so we really want to avoid a simplistic one factor answer and recognize that we are human beings, we're messy, we're multifaceted, and there's a lot of different factors that come into play in every aspect of our lives.
You will find that Nicole does a much better job at explaining and articulating things that I do.
So Phil will say something and then I'll interpret it.
That's right. That's right. But it's very true. Everything that Nicole said, I would just want to echo that. There's oftentimes a combination of reasons and a combination of answers and directions that you can go to resolve, or at least to manage and cope with the challenges that you have, that people have. And so that's what we're here for. We want to help you. We want to help those that are struggling with hope, hopelessness. They feel like there's no direction in life. And we fully believe that we are made in a way. We are given a purpose in life in a corporate way, as followers of Jesus, in a corporate way that he wants us to make disciples of all nations, to love him, to love others. He wants us there's a number of things that he desires from us corporately. But he also gives us all our own unique experiences and gifts and talents and interactions with people. And we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to think through, hey, what is their unique, special purpose in life as well that God has given them.
Yeah, the bottom line, I think, here is that we believe that every single human being was created for a meaningful, purposeful life. We weren't created just to get by. We weren't created just to survive. Sometimes we hear that, I'm in survival mode. But that's not the bottom line. And so Nicole and Phil with Purpose is about digging in and finding what is that core purpose? What is that? What gives us meaning and direction and gives us a sense of hope, even when things get really difficult. And so we're about helping people to thrive and flourish as we were created to do.
So how we're trying to help people is we have actually a website. It's called Phil with Purpose, and maybe someday it will be Nicole and Phil with Purpose.
I guess I got left out of that picture.
But for now, it's Phil with Purpose. So if you want to go to our website, it's PHIL, it's how you spell my name, withpurpose.com. And you'll see that we have different elements there, different visuals to try to help provide that direction, to try to help provide that purpose, that congruence, we call it, in life, and find that sweet spot. So there's different elements to that we're going to go over today. But again, if you want to check this out on your own, it's philwithpurpose.com, PHIL withpurpose.com. And so just a couple of the visuals that we're going to start with. We'll put them up here on the screen. We'll start here with the Circle of Congruence. So we feel that there's definitely an imbalance in some people's life, not an incongruence. And what that means is, what we're talking about with this visual right here, is there's an incongruence of how they spend their time, their money, their resources, that, and I'll make this actually a little bigger so we can see a little better. So there's the circle in the middle, that's me, that's you as an individual. There's the second circle, which is our family, of course, it makes sense. And then the third circle is others, and others will include your friends, your community, coworkers, nature, the world, just everything essentially outside of the four walls of your home. And we feel like that if you don't have, if people aren't spending a balanced amount of time within these three circles, that they're going to have an incongruence, and that's going to cause some non-contentment. They're going to be they're going to feel like they're lost in some way. And what's so key about this is the fact that some people, they love to spend time focused on others. There's some people that love to spend time with their family. There's some people that love to spend time with themselves. But if somebody's only in the me category, even if they're a very introverted person, if they're only in the me category, they're going to be missing out on something that God has in store for them. If they're only in the others category, only spending time and money and resources in the others category, there's probably some self-reflection time, some time that they need to spend for themselves, because God, even Jesus Christ himself went out for 40 days and prayed. And so all by himself with God. So, and then of course we need to spend time with our family, our kids, our parents, those cousins and those sorts of family elements. We need to spend time with them as well, because they are our family. They are flesh and blood. And so having that balance is what we want to encourage very, very strongly.
And the other piece that I want to emphasize here with this model, the Circle of Congruence, is that we as human beings don't operate in a vacuum. If you look at this model, to understand anyone's circumstance, to understand what person A over there, your neighbor, is struggling with, sometimes we tend to personalize it, like, oh, that person is this. What we really need to do is recognize that every person is embedded in a complex web of contexts. And we're in a particular family constellation. We have particular family circumstances, our workplace, our church, our community, the history that we're born into, the government, the policies, economics, all of those. So multiple layers of context. And so when we try to understand one person's perspective, why they might be struggling, we can't just look at that one person. We have to look at all these different layers of how that person is functioning in the world to really, truly understand and get at the heart of what might be contributing to their struggle.
Yeah, and we would surmise that if you are spending a balanced amount of time in these three categories within your personality, that you are going to be able to, just as it says, you're going to feel more contentment, a state of contentment, some harmony, a sense of harmony resulting from a good focus of your time, energy, and resources on your God-given purpose for His glory. And we also have an element up here in green in the upper right, the word eternity, because both Nicole and I have the conviction that this world will end, that we know it. There will be a new heaven and a new earth, and we need to not focus on this life, but focus on the next life. Focus on this life with the next life with eternity in mind. I'll say it that way.
Many theologians have written that heaven is actually a place on earth, meaning that it's not like we live our human lives and then enter eternity. We are in training right now. We are the relationships we're investing in now, the characteristics that we are cultivating, of the fruits of the Spirit. This is preparation to live in the redeemed earth, right? But this life is not irrelevant to eternity. And so it matters. What we're talking about in terms of how we live on this earth matters.
It's possible that there could be people that have a perfect balance in this circle of congruence of how they spend their time, but it's still not going to give you that ultimate eternal shalom, that ultimate contentment, that ultimate peace that God has to offer for us. So that's an element to want to that's why we have biblical worldview up there, because earthly contentment. There's people that are perfectly content here on earth, and and have feel really good about their lives, which is great. But we just want to make sure we would be remiss if we didn't say, hey, there's more to this though than just this life.
Yeah, if you took a look at the arrows here, what the arrows are meant to represent is that in order to live a congruent, content life, your beliefs, your worldview. Some of you hold a biblical worldview. Some of you hold a worldview that's based on different ideas. But however your worldview does or does not make its way through all of these layers of your self, your family life, your broader context of culture and others, how we live, how we frame what happens to us, how we go about our business day to day, our worldview ought to infiltrate and be woven through every single thing that we do, whether it's how we spend our time, what we choose to spend our money on, the relationships that we invest in, what self-care might look like. And so the idea is that a congruent life, if that's the goal, to live congruently in all of these areas with how I believe, how I view the world, what I believe truth is, then we can't live congruently unless those core values, the worldview, is woven through everything that we do.
Yeah, exactly. And so anything else you want to add about this circle of congruence, or are we ready to talk about the strategy?
I think we're ready to move to the next point.
All right. So another visual we have is what we call the strategy. And I'll make it big here. The strategy is essentially, it's your battle plan for living out your purpose. If you're going to go on a trip somewhere, I mean, some people have the luxury of just being able to pull their car out into the driveway and just start driving, okay? But not everybody has that luxury. And you usually have a plan if you're gonna go. You have a map that you're gonna get to your certain place wherever you're planning on going. And so we created this visual called the strategy. It's your battle plan for living out your purpose. Now, just please keep in mind that this can look very different for everybody. This is just one example. It does not have to be exactly like this. You don't have to make yours like this, but there is an example of this on the website. If you'd like to print that off, it's actually right there. If you'd like to print that off and then actually use it for yourself. But so what we see the strategy as being is, well, by the way, the word strategy defined is strategia, and I believe it's Latin, and it actually means the art of war. The definition is the art of war. And just think about your life. For those of you that, just have that hopelessness and that direction, the lack of direction, just think of yourself as, you're in a battle, you're in a war. And if you're going to be in that battle, in that war, you got to have a plan in order to succeed in that battle. And that's what this strategy is trying to help create and help you with. Now we got 6 goals up here, so that these goals could be anywhere from a 1-week goal, something that you want to get accomplished in 1 week. It could be something that you want to get accomplished in 6 months. It could be something you want to get accomplished in 5 years or longer. And so then there's action steps, as you can see here, to accomplish these goals. And it's important that you spend time to actually think through the action steps to accomplish that goal. The goal may have to be career element, career directed. It may be family directed. It may be, whatever that is. But it's important to have these goals in mind with the circle of congruence in the middle. That's just part of it. We gotta have a congruence in life. be part of our strategy, or else it's just not. It's going to fall flat on its face. And then there's an element, as you can see there. We put leisure on there. It's also important that we take time to have times of leisure. I mean, if we're always working, if we're always taking time to look for our goals and reach out to our goals, it's maybe that can be a little too much emphasis on it. It's good to have the emphasis, but it's also important to take time to go fishing, or time to do scrapbooking, or time to do whatever it is that you find leisurely. We all need to have that time, and that's in the Circle of Congruence. That's the section in the middle. That's the me time. Usually, a lot of times, not always, but that can be the section that's in the middle. And then there's also on the top there, you will see the core life principles, and those are the non-negotiables in your life. Like if you negotiate on some of these things, on your core life principles, it will totally ruin your strategy. For example, well, here's an example for you. This guy's name is Connor Jacobs, and if he doesn't stay clean, it's going to impact his goal to raise his family right. And if he doesn't stay loyal to his spouse, again, that's gonna impact his ability to raise his family right. And if he doesn't maintain his employment, he can't fight human trafficking because he can't give $100 a month to a mission, because that's a passion of his. So that's just an example. And these are on the website, by the way, so you can take a look at what we have here.
So the whole idea here is to first think about those core principles, right? What are the non-negotiables? Is staying clean a non-negotiable? For many people who struggle with drug addiction, that is a non-negotiable, right? Or with any other kind of addiction. For me, in fact, Phil, when we were developing this, we had this conversation. For me, rest and Sabbath is maybe not as much in that leisure category as it is a core principle. I believe that we live in a society that is it worships striving and working all the time, and we were created to need rest. Right? God created the earth, and he thought it just as important as creating this beautiful world around us, that we have a day to rest and reflect and enjoy creation. And most of all, that we allow ourselves to remember that it's not about us, that God, we can't do it all on our own. And when we take that time to rest and intentionally build Sabbath into our lives, and that can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to look like a Sunday afternoon nap. If you were raised like me, like that was the key about Sabbath. You don't go anywhere, you don't buy much, and you take a nap on Sunday, right? But Sabbath and rest becomes a rhythm that acknowledges that I need God in my life, and to take a day to recognize the lordship of God in our lives and over creation. That's a core principle. So, the form here helps us to frame, but don't feel like you have to kind of force your reality into this. It's meant to be a tool. It's meant to be a tool to help you think through what are the core principles that I value, and then what are the pieces that go into it.
Absolutely. And I want to echo what Nicole just said about these visuals. They're not perfect. They're just visuals, and that's okay. And they're something just to get our thoughts, your mind moving in the direction that God wants us to, be moving, hopefully.
Yeah, I want to go back to an idea that you talked about, I think a couple slides back, about the battle plan, right? And I love that strategia idea that if we are not intentional about how we live our lives, we have an enemy who would like nothing better than to just pull us down and destroy us. And but we were created for more, and we already know the victory. Throughout the Bible, we see that the victory is already the Lord's. But on this earth, we have an enemy who wants to pull us down. Mm-hmm. And so that battle plan, that idea of being intentional, so many times we just go through life just kind of being tossed about by whatever stressors come. We're not grounded because we don't take time to think about and be intentional about how we live our lives. And so this whole idea of living with purpose and being intentional, I mean, that's why we're here tonight. That's why we'll be here for this whole series, right? Is to help us all, and we are not here as experts saying we don't need this, because these are tools that we ourselves need as well. We can help each other live more authentically, more intentionally, and more grounded.
And in something you said a little bit ago too, I want to expound upon. I mean, how many people do we know that are go, 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 go? They're constantly on the go, that are actually content, like truly feel satisfaction in life? I mean, I think the answer would, if people are being honest with themselves, the answer would be zero, nobody. Like, it's almost like if they're on the go, 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 they're running from something, or they don't like being on the circle of congruence. They don't like the me section, and that's troubling, and something that if that's you really need to work through, and we want to help you work through that. So with this, how this model works is we have this podcast that we actually want to interact with you. So we have a section in the website that's called the podcast, or what did I call it? Connect. So it's a very first tab in our website, and what we hope to do is connect with people that are struggling, people that have struggled, that have potentially fought through that and have figured out a nice balance, a nice congruence in life, and have set some goals in life. If this resonates with you, we'd love to talk with you about it. If you're struggling in life and you want to help us work through these visuals with you and just ask you some questions to try to help give you some guidance, we're here for that too. That's what the whole point and purpose of Nicole and Phil and Purpose is. I mean, part of the platform is that right there. If you're a pastor or a sheriff, or you see people that struggle with living with direction and purpose in life, we'd love to hear about your experiences, and then hopefully connect you with people that you may impact and be in touch with.
This might be a good place, Phil, for us to just kind of give a little blurb on our experience and why each of us are here. We each come with different experiences. So you want to start, and then I'll follow up?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I will say, I want to get back to what I started with, the whole anxiety, depression, mental health challenges that some people have. I confess to you, I have a challenge with anxiety. So I want to let you know that I am not poo-pooing through this. I commiserate with those of you that do with you if you struggle with anxiety. Depression is not my battle. It's not my thorn. Anxiety is, though. And so I'm here to tell you I can relate. I'm also tried praying through it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I don't feel guilty about that. I don't feel like I'm not in tune with the Lord, maybe. But some people will say, well, you just need to pray more, or whatever, if you have depression or some, mental health challenges. And I don't necessarily believe that's the case. Maybe sometimes it is that you need to pray through that more. Some people say, medication, nobody should have to rely on that. And I guess I wouldn't prescribe to that either, because I would be a hypocrite. I have a prescription to Xanax for these times when I have these intense anxiety situations, which my anxiety is based on being in crowds and being in big groups of people and feeling like there's no escape. That's where my anxiety really drives from. So actually tonight is Unity down in Muskegon, Unity Christian Musical Festival. And if I was down there, you would, unless I took Xanax ahead of time, if I was down there, you would see me on the outside, not in the crowd, on the outside there, kind of by the sidewalk area where the concessions is. I would not be in that crowd. And again, I have some sort of claustrophobia with that. And I'm telling you this because I have challenges in life. I have struggles in life too. I'm not coming to you, and I know Nicole's not coming to you, that we're going to have all the answers. This is just a platform, like we said earlier, for us to talk about these things. We do think, and I do think, that there's a lot of people out there that don't have a direction in life, and that's their struggle. That's the reason they just need that goal setting, that hope. So that's I guess a little confession to you right off the bat, so I'm not judging you by any means as to this battle that you're having, because I know every single battle is unique. Oh, and by the way, therapy, I see a counselor once every 2 months or so to help talk through this and work through this. I don't feel guilt for that. Now, I also don't want to be one of those people that, kind of becomes a fad, like mental health, like, okay, I have mental health crisis or issues because I want the attention. I don't want the attention, honestly. I don't like that attention. And I think that kind of, we get to that in society too, even like, oh yeah, I have struggles with depression too. Or and I don't honestly want to tell you, all of my struggles and be wide open about it, but I am, because I just hope that will help.
Yeah, thanks for that vulnerability, Phil. It's definitely takes courage to share. We all have something, right, that we struggle with. And, Phil comes from long history as an educator and an administrator. And in addition to what you just heard, his struggle in his own life, he has worked with countless families, kids, students who are also struggling with their own challenge. I am a psychologist by training and have spent 30 plus years studying people, studying psychology, and integrating that into my faith. And that's been an interesting journey when you think about mental health and how faith fits into thinking about mental health disorders and how our life stressors play into our emotional well-being and all of those big questions. But when it comes, and so just seeing how those living with no sense of purpose, how it affects children from very young ages, how it affects families, how it affects teens, how it affects communities. I'm also a professor and I work with college students. College students are very much in that identity stage of trying to figure out who they are, what they believe, not just because mom and dad believe it, but because I believe it, and where they fit in the world. And that can bring a lot of hopelessness. We know that the data is showing, especially post-COVID, that suicidal ideation and suicide attempts and completions are at an all-time high. And so I'm coming into this podcast with that concern that has built over 30 years of my career. And my passion is to help individuals and families be more intentional about how they live their lives. In terms of personal vulnerability, when we talk about things like striving and overachieving and perfectionism and feeling like you have to earn your worth and feeling like you're not worth it unless you have this degree and those credentials. And I live in an academic world where how many articles you write and how many books you write and how many students you mentor, all of those things feel like you could never quite measure up. And so when I think about myself over the course of my life, there were many points in my life, even as a young student, where my worth was tied to my achievement. I knew exactly how to get the A. I knew exactly that I would get accolades from teachers and from my parents. And so very early on, I learned this very unhealthy perfectionism. I mean, an A- would have been a failure to me, right? And so even coming into college, I had some hard self-examination to do in terms of, where did I place my worth? Who did I look to define my worth? Was I looking to the university? Was I looking to the people around me, my family, or was I looking to the Word of God? And so that has been a journey for me across my now 50 years of life. It's 51. I just turned 51 last week. But how do I live out my true identity as a child of God? It has nothing to do with how I attain or achieve or a standard that I meet. It's not really even about me at all. It's about who He is and what He has done for me. And so, that brings with it a challenge in every area of life. And so for me, that is my biggest life challenge as I've walked with Christ, and again through being a student, getting married, having children, now an empty nester. That seems so strange to say. A professor who kind of lives out. I mean, I see many of my students struggling with the same thing. Their sense of worth is tied to the grade that they get or the paper that they write. And of course, we want to work with excellence. We want to develop the gifts God has given us. But when that becomes how we define our worth, that is going to lead to a whole lot of anxiety, hopelessness, and it doesn't allow us to live a congruent life of gratitude and humility. Yeah. So that tells you a little bit where I am coming from in terms of, providing some opportunities for ourselves and others to think through intentionally what it is to be living a life of purpose.
Yeah, and so I'll, excuse me, just talk a little bit more. You hit a little bit of it so I'm 20 years in education myself. So my experiences come from that. I'm a very observant person too. The people around me, I just watch, people, just everybody around me.
While you're standing on the outskirts.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
While you're standing on the outskirts,
exactly.
you're
Right. And I just see, and I read headlines, and I just, a lot of times the news it's mostly bad, because that's what they like to report. There's good things that happen out there too, but you read about gang violence, you read about the 14-year-old that committed suicide, you hear about the drug overdose, addictions, and that's there's nothing special about me. I'm just somebody that decided, hey, let's talk about this. Because I kept reading those headlines, like I knew we need to do something about this. Let's just not, let's do something about this. So that's what this is all about. And Nicole is awesome, and as far as articulating things, as you've already seen, and we're on the same page in most every area, if not every area, as far as how I think our worldview is. And so that's what we're here for. Again, we don't have all the answers. We just wanted to open this up for that purpose. I just want to say something too about, using, like in my case, I use Xanax occasionally when I absolutely feel like I need it. It is something that I always strive to not have to take it, just because it's just, I don't know why. I just don't want to have that, I guess, crutch. But let me be very clear that just because I strive to not take it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with somebody that continues to take an ADD medicine or an antidepressant, because they need that. But it's just, we always need to be working through, not always just lean on only medicine. We need to, but we always need to, have therapy, and a balance of all these things that we're talking about sometimes is what is the best thing that works for people.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, I will just add that.
So she's going to interpret for me, like I said.
We're going to give ideas and, suggestions here, but it is very important that every single person listening works with their individual circumstances, with healthcare professionals that and
that's what I was trying to say.
Know you, and counselors who you can work with ongoing. That is really important because everybody's situation is slightly different, and we are not here to give, one-on-one medical advice. We are here to provide some guidance and kind of maybe work in conjunction with your healthcare community. So,
I mean, really, our focus is not mental health. Our focus is living with a direction and purpose in life. That's what it's all about. So, but it does weave so in so many ways. Some people, this is all they'll need is Nicole and Phil with purpose, or something like living with a direction, and doing it on purpose, and living with a purpose on purpose. But some people we're going to need, all the above. All right. I do want to get into, I'm sorry, I'm going to look at my notes here.
notes are good. I know you're not 50 yet, Phil, but you're getting there.
Yeah. This is not cooperating. There we go. All right. Yeah, just want to review with you that we are inviting you to join in and talk through your journey, like I said earlier, and connect with us. You can connect with us if you go to our website, philwithpurpose.com, and there's a connect button, and you'll see our email address there. Also in the description section, you'll see www.philwithpurpose.com. There's not necessarily a link there, but you can actually copy and paste that link if you would rather do it that way. There's so much value in you. If you think that this resonates in today's world, if you agree with this or even partially agree with this, and you want to listen a few more weeks, we're going to be doing this for, at least for now, we're planning on 8 weeks or maybe 9 weeks. So every other week, every other Thursday at 5 o'clock, starting today. And we're going to talk about things just like this, and hopefully have guests, and maybe it might be you. But if this does resonate with you, please, there's so much value in telling other people about it. I mean, word of mouth is truly the best marketing. So please tell other people about it. Talk about it. Share it on your social media. We need sponsorships too. This is not free. This does cost money. So if that's something that you feel like you're being called to do, is to sponsor this this show and this platform, get a hold of me, Phil at philwithpurpose.com, or you can get a hold of Nicole too, Nicole at philwithpurpose.com. Again, those email addresses are on our website though. And then make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. Click on the subscribe button, and then you can get the actual alerts when we're going live. If you click on the little, I think it's the very top one, I think it says all, and then you get all notifications when it's time for us to go again. So do you want to talk about the sweet spot, or you want to wait till next week or next time?
I think maybe I'll just give a little teaser.
Yeah, sure. Which you can find on the website, by the way.
So on the website, you will see a document called the Sweet Spot, and we'll talk more about this next week. But
in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yes. You might have heard of the philosopher Frederick Buechner. He talks about how our purpose meets, it's a place where our great gladness meets the world's needs. That is such a powerful idea, right? That first of all, that quote tells us that we aren't created for our own purpose in terms of an insulated world, right?
Which, can I just stop you a sec? Which to me, it's like a monkey off my back.
Oh,
a monkey off my shoulder. Because okay, I'm a part of something bigger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were created with intention, and we'll talk about, you can go into God's word in Psalms or in Ephesians 2, Psalm 139, Jeremiah. You can see that each one of us is created intentionally. Again, for me, that is just like, wow. It's not a random constellation of cells that somehow come together into this, person. God knit us together, and in a very specific way. And we were born when we were born intentionally, and we were born to see the world in a very unique way because there are needs around us that God needs to meet, and he does that through us, right? So where our great gladness, our passions, our interests, the causes that mean a lot to us, meets the world's greatest needs. That's kind of an intersection. And so the sweet spot of finding what that purpose is, I want you to maybe, even as you think about 2 weeks from now, spend some time thinking about, what is my great gladness? What is something that I'm passionate about? How did God create me with unique strengths and a unique personality and a unique way of looking at the world. And then where did he put me? What kind of family did he put me in? What community? What educational experiences have I had? And then how does that help me to see the world around the needs of the world around me differently? What causes am I drawn to? What needs do I see that I think, oh, I could help somebody else do that? When we are in that sweet spot where how we were created fits well with what we see in the world and how we can meet the needs of other people, I mean, that ought to ignite us, right? So the sweet spot we'll talk a little bit more about next week, but that gives you a little taste of kind of how we can even start to think about defining our purpose.
Thank you. So we'll close today with, I want to look at you in the eye and say, you have a purpose. You have been given a God-given purpose on this earth. And you need to know that. And so I hope you join us again a week from Thursday, or 2 weeks from tonight, I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
And I hope you share about this with others. We hope and pray that this helps people.
Yeah.
All right.